Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Behnam, good to be talking to you here today. I've been involved in agriculture for nearly 30-some years, and I remember when I was in a farming entity and using the Board of Trade and those options. Sometimes that was the only way you could carve out a profit. Back in the days of the LDPs and direct payments, that was a big tool to pull the trigger on, but oftentimes it was when you do a hedge to arrive contract, then have to fix in the basis was the most difficult part of it. That's an example of what farmers have to do every day to be successful on a very thin margin. My concern would be with the biggest player out there other than us, which is China. China has really shown itself to be in a variety of markets, a country that is willing to shortcut the process when it comes to something more complicated than growing corn and beans and then selling it with intellectual property, and just a place that you have to pay attention to. And do you fear that at some point down the road, and to me, my observation was they didn't adhere to some of the agreements they had in place during the Trump administration, commodity prices were a little soft. All of a sudden, when that political situation got resolved in November, all of a sudden farm prices go way up, and a lot of it had to do with China then exercising what it was supposed to have done. So for all the good things we do here, providing the marketing tools that the Board of Trade and the Mercantile Exchange give us, what about a player that's out of the way most other countries operate? Does that complicate your job? And would you hold them accountable for it if you saw them doing something to pricing that was caused by them and not by the markets?
Senator, thanks for the question. To address the second question first, naturally there would have to be some tie or some relationship with our law and our enforcement authority. So we would certainly look at any action and take action if we could, but again, it would be subject to any authority we had. The larger question about the issue you raise is important, and I'll say I've been focused on it. I've been having a lot of bilateral conversations about it internally here in the U.S. and then also externally overseas. I think one point to take away, and you know this well, you essentially said it, is the U.S. has historically been the gold standard for benchmarking commodities. And we continue to be, anything from ags and energy to precious metals as well in certain circumstances. And I think it's very important for this committee to hear that from a national security perspective, we should aspire to remain in that position. And we are seeing emerging markets grow across the world, and rightfully so, as we're having more diverse markets sort of develop in different parts of the world. That's a natural outgrowth of it, whether it's in any part of the world. But I do think, given the size of our economy, given national security concerns, and the historical reference of many of these commodities being benchmarked here, whether it's WTI crude or corn and beans or any of the precious metals that are critical to our economic infrastructure, we should do everything we can, and I certainly look forward to working with you to keep it that way.
So it's interesting because China just a few decades ago was a developing country. Now they want to still maintain that status. They're about a $14 trillion economy. We're about a 22. EU's about 20. You add all that up, that's a lot with just a few players. And we got some issues, but not the kind that I'm talking about with China, even with the EU. So I think we are that place that sets the standard, is the clearinghouse for how you price things. We've never had a geopolitical opponent, in my mind, that's got the capability, especially somewhere down the road when they're larger than we are. And they, to me, look like they stage things and do reveal some of their behavior in the short run, and be wary of it in the midterm and long term. One other question before my time runs out. I think your entity's been running since 2013, where you're not authorized, but we're still funding it. That should be an anomaly, not something that we do routinely. What is your feeling about that, and what do you intend to do to get it back into a place where you're authorized and appropriated.
Senator, you're right. Obviously, doors have been open and we're doing our job and fulfilling our mission, regardless of the lack of authorization. But it's important. It's important for morale at the agency. It's important for a mandate from the authorizing committee in the Congress to do our job. And if confirmed, certainly welcome to work with you and other members of the committee to create a smart, balanced, measured reauthorization bill that addresses these new challenges that we're facing, whether they're overseas or domestic. And really looking forward for the agency, because over the past 10 years, we've had some uncertainty around our budget. And in my current role as acting chair, just in the past 10 months as the sort of CEO of the agency, I've observed the repercussions of that, and they're real. And I think certainty and a recognition of the importance of the agency, an increasing consistent budget will help us do the job that we need to do so that we can prevent crises, whether it's in traditional ag markets, energy markets, or the growing digital marketplace.
Glad to see you're of that opinion. We need to do so. Thank you.